Hi everyone, I'm Silvana, and today we're going to review YouTube's most popular how to increase the height of your kick and flexibility routines. I'm going to let you know which ones are good and which ones you need to avoid. A breakdown on how to increase the height of your round kicks.
Popular video request, and that is high kick technique and high kick flexibility. Always somebody who asks, how do you get your kicks so fluid? How do they get up to head level?
That is actually a very common question, so we'll see what his advice is.
I'm going to show you guys 3 or 4 different techniques today you need to do to make sure your high kick technique is correct. All the muscles stretched out that you need for the head kick. So one of the stretches that I've found is super pertinent is coming onto your knees. You can put your feet against the wall and walk your hips backwards. Knees in line with your feet, elbows to the floor, and when you push in, it gets super deep, just like a split. You can also increase this by windshield wipering. Stretch one leg out, tuck a heel to my bum, and I transition back and forth as I push my weight back. And it really gets in deep.
I do like that he's touching on the flexibility aspect, and I like that he's utilizing movement. I see the value in potentially the butterfly stretch with the wall. I'd like to try that out myself because I don't think I've done that before. I don't see the value in that windshield wiper movement just because it doesn't give your body enough time to like adjust. I don't know how it can engage your kick or help your chamber by moving that way. I think if you did that and you held like a static movement, I think that would have more value than the motion, like the back and forth motion.
3 stretches will really help you get that kick up higher.
So yes, having a full split is obviously what you need. You need to actually have the like flexibility to kick that high. And then I see the value in doing the butterfly to help with your chamber, to make sure that your chamber is like tight, and also just working on that like technique of having that chamber. Again, I'm not sure about the actual like windshield wiper thing. We'll give it a shot and see.
One hand against the wall, elevate your leg, hold heel to your bum, and just extend re-chamber. And if you just bang off 20 or 30 of those, you're gonna start to feel that muscle fatigue.
Yes, you see me doing hip strength like all the time and like pretty consistently. This is a great version of it with repetition with your kicks. He doesn't touch on why he's utilizing the wall. So you utilize the wall to take balance out of the equation so then you can actually engage the muscle that needs strengthening. So by doing this, you're strengthening your outer hip, and therefore you're able to pull your leg up higher when you execute the kick itself. You obviously want strong hips to be able to do that. You can have that passive flexibility to like just leg raise your leg up if you have that flexibility in place, but to actually have a strong engagement and a strong like powerful kick, you need to have a strong outer hip to get your leg there. So I do like that drill a lot, but you can still engage your outer hip if the chamber is lower. But that's more like for beginners. So if you're a beginner trying this out, totally put your chamber a little bit lower and then work your way up to a higher chamber. As long as it's engaging and you're keeping a proper technique, you're good.
Wall for balance, and forward. Just keep doing it until I think now I don't need the wall for balance and I'm able to lean back without falling.
Okay, so this drill, I see its value, but I don't think of it as a flexibility drill. This is a great drill from what I see for balance, which is obviously what you need for higher kicks as well. If you don't have balance, you're falling on your butt every time you chamber. It can help also range of motion if you kind of like go to your peak and go full range with the kicks. But it's not really helping in a sense of getting your kick higher. It's definitely helping your balance. So I do like that for a balance drill. Okay, so final thoughts on this is I do really like his drills. There are some things that I would like to try out, like that butterfly for sure. I'm going to try it on the wall and see if it does engage that groin, outer hip, maybe even just making sure that knee goes into place for a chamber. I'm going to try that out and see if it engages differently than when you do it without a wall. Overall, I think he was pretty good. So I'm excited to give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so let's give this assisted butterfly a try. So feet out, push down, push back on the couch. So it's the same with or without the backboard of something assisting you. So I don't think that you actually need the wall or something for assistance. If you could just go down into this frog, you don't need anything behind you. Time for the windshield wipers that I was like super curious about. And switch and just continuously move like this. This is, I don't know, useless. Okay, so ultimately, I'm sorry, but I don't see value in that motion like I mentioned. So if anything, it's just kind of like fun, but when it comes to value, I don't see me adding this to a routine anytime soon or ever. 2-minute tutorial on how to kick higher. Make me better in 2 minutes. 60K views. All right, Alex.
Hey y'all, I'm Alex. Today I'm gonna give you some tips on how you can kick higher. Now let's get started.
Okay.
Now the first tip is making sure you properly stretch and make sure that you warm up well before attempting to kick high.
So yes, of course, you want to make sure that you're super warmed up and stretched whenever you're throwing kicks. I think I say that in like one of my videos. That's like most common mistakes that you're throwing is throwing kicks without actually warming up and then expecting it to be amazing. So yeah, make sure that you're stretched, and then having that center split or whatever stretch you need to throw whatever kick you're looking to throw. You have to have full range of that before even thinking that you could kick higher. You need to have that flexibility. All right, and we're already on to the next one. Let's see.
Making sure you chamber your knee high for your kick. For example, if I'm gonna throw a roundhouse kick, if I only chamber right here, my kick is only gonna go this high. But if I chamber up here, my kick is gonna go much higher.
Okay, so yes, you need to make sure that your chamber is high enough. I know that she's trying to maybe keep it concise and short so people stay engaged, but you need to know how to actually throw the chamber, so making sure that you have proper technique when throwing your kicks first of all. So if you don't know proper kick technique, then just throwing your knee up really high is really not going to get you very far. It might help you in swinging your leg up, but I wouldn't say that that's like a high kick. It's just like a high swing or leg raise type situation. So make sure that you actually know the kick that you're trying to throw and do those breakdowns, and then work on chambering higher, because yes, of course, you need to start the kick because every kick has a chamber to start. So you have to start the kick well in order to finish the kick well. Break down the technical aspect of every kick and then work on it accordingly.
Third tip is slightly lean back as you're throwing a high kick. You have to counterbalance. So if I'm throwing a roundhouse kick, just slightly lean back.
Okay, so yes, leaning back on your kicks, again, you probably see whenever I throw my kicks, I'm leaning back a bit. In order to do that, you need to work on your balance, because if you're leaning back a lot, like she said, you're going to be falling backwards. But also you need to have the strength necessary to lean back slightly but keep your body up at the same time. So I think she also touches on that like counterbalance aspect, which I really like. How she, like, the terminology she used is counterbalance, with it, which I actually really like. But I don't think that she's being specific enough in the sense that you need the strength to be able to counterbalance that. Because if you're leaning back, then your leg and your hip need to be strong enough to keep your body upright, because if it's not strong enough, you're going to fall over. And then you also need to make sure that your base foot, the foot that's on the ground, is strong enough to keep you up and keep that center of balance. So yes, you need to be leaning back, short term of that, but there's a lot that goes into being able to lean back.
And this last tip is make sure you keep your eyes on your target as you are kicking it. Keep your eyes and your head locked on that target and focus on kicking that high.
Okay, yes, lock on your target, make sure you're looking at where you're going. I actually had a student one time, you know who you are, looking straight up in hopes that they would kick high, but their leg didn't go that high and they actually kicked like hip level. It was kind of funny, but they were trying their best. So if you don't actually have the technical and flexibility aspect to be able to do it, doesn't matter where you look, you won't be able to throw it that high. So in order to do it, you have to be working on all of the other aspects of throwing high kicks. And then, of course, you need to be looking at where you're kicking to lock on your target. And then that's leg control at that point, because you look and then your foot goes to where you look. So there's a lot of more advanced movements to be able to do that kind of stuff. But definitely look at where you're trying to kick, because if you're not looking, then it's never going to happen anyways. Okay, so overall, I think they're just trying to stay concise and not really go into too much of what they were saying. I think overall, it's really good tips, very useful. I think that maybe before starting this tutorial, you do need to know your technical aspects of your kicks a little bit better before doing this. I think this is more of like a refinement of where am I going wrong? I'm on the right track, but things aren't like working for me. Let's see if I could polish it up. I think these tips are really great for somebody that's more of like intermediate level and trying to clean that up. Is it good for a beginner? Probably not. Is this like a Bob or a Brad? Okay.
Well, hi there, folks. I'm Bob Shump, physical therapist.
Brad Hanning, physical therapist.
Together we are the most...
Immediately overwhelmed, but also immediately engaged. I don't know, so many emotions.
hip stretches.
Right.
And somebody stated, I wish I knew this years ago. He's a second-degree black belt.
The book I wrote just coming out of college. Yeah, it's a Kindle book. Information is not in there.
Prior to us, webrad.com. Go to the giveaway. You can also
Okay, I'm
go
skipping
to
that.
Fitness.
Right.
Okay, teach me
Now, I
things.
do want to mention, just came out with this in the last few years, right?
The book, by the way, that becomes a
Directed
bestseller.
They talk a lot, and I just want to know what the next stretch is. We haven't gone into anything yet, and we're like almost 4 minutes in.
But these advanced stretches are going to get right to the hip capsule, which if that's tight, it doesn't matter how flexible you get your muscles, and if your hip capsule's tight, it's going to limit your kicks.
Yes.
So 100%, first thoughts are they're touching on the fact that you have to stretch differently for different kicks for sure, because you engage different muscles for each kick that you throw. That's why your hips in different positions and your chambers are in different positions. So you obviously need to make sure that you're stretching differently for each kick and engaging each muscle differently. They touch on that outer hip that we talk about all the time. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do to, they said just release it. So we'll see what they do. Whether it be motion or rolling or stretches, we'll see.
Directed towards high-level athletes.
I think even a regular person can be using it, Brian.
Sure.
High level athletes and regular person.
Hip capsule, get your butt up against the wall, lie on the floor. We need to get them out this way. Point your toes up towards the ceiling. Don't let it go out like this so much. And I can feel a stretch already. I bet you I should just go like this. I use my elbows because it's a little easier. And right there, I can feel a really aggressive stretch. Now I just drop my feet down. It's like, whoa, is that starting to get intense?
This is a low impact version of what I actually do often for a groin stretch and a hip opener stretch. I like the low impact. I like that his feet are up. I see that he could engage exactly what he's saying and also get a groin stretch out of that. So far, so good. This is more, like I said, like low impact when you're like not feeling it or you're tired or you want to like just lay down and do a stretch. This is a good one. I've also noticed that he's turned his feet out. So he initially says like keep your feet straight up. Don't turn them off to the side, and you shouldn't turn them fully off to the side, but angling your feet out are just as good for engagement of your groin. So if you want to get a good groin stretch out of that, angle the feet out and then pop the knees back and you're in a really good groin stretch.
Like loose joints, or you have rheumatoid arthritis, or you have osteoporosis, you shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
I'd also like to note that the stretch that he specifically does just on that wall, if you have a very flexible groin, you probably won't see value in that stretch.
So a deep lunge, really stretch it out as far as you feel comfortable. You're going to hang out there and to the knee or the thigh, and we're going to roll in that way.
He's rotating that hip outward.
Oh,
Okay, so The lunge that he does initially will really hit your hip flexor and your quad. So going deep into that will for sure stretch that aspect and open up your hip a little bit. The one that he goes into after, where he kind of like leans into his front leg, that will really engage your outer hip. So that's, what is that called? Like, it's close to when you do figure four and you turn your knee out, or your like knee out and your foot in. So I go a little deeper into the stretch where my knee can actually like hit the ground. So I could see how when you're a little bit like less flexible, just pushing down that way can actually engage that really well.
I swear, I bet you I could increase the height of my kick by about a foot.
Increase the height of, I know he's being a little bit dramatic and extra with it. Increase the height of his kick by a foot from doing this. I think if you already have the base of flexibility, I don't know what kick he's like alluding to with your outer hip, probably talking about your sides or your rounds or your hooks, but you could open up your hip for sure a little bit more. But if you don't have that like groin flexibility initially to get your leg up that high, that's what you need first. Like, that's your foundation of height to increase your kick, is to actually have the flexibility there. He's opening up his hip, but then he'll also need to strengthen up the hip. So he needs to open it up the way he's doing right now and then strengthen it to be able to like maintain a high kick. So I think that that could benefit if you're doing like leg raises, again, just doing like passive stretching and like active, where you're just swinging your leg up. I think that could really help, because then you're opening it up. But when it comes to actually like throwing a strong kick, you'll have to do more than this to increase it by however he just said.
Caution, this is not...
Ooh, bands. Love bands.
So I'm going to put my leg through the loop band, and I'm going to bring it up in my crotch as high as we can go. Band around the hip socket, the capsule. Even the toughest martial artist, if you got a hard floor, you're going to want to put a cushion down.
Good thing most of us are matted now, because we have to be.
He leans to the side here. He's actually, like, he's trying to push the hip ball out of the socket. That's what he's trying to do. And by doing that, he's stretching the capsule.
Now, I haven't tried that before, so I'm just going to go based off of just my knowledge and what he said, and what I'm thinking is I see the value in its movement for sure. I see what it can do to like loosen that up a bit, stretch it out a bit. I do like it, but I would like to try it before I'm able to give any like positive or negative.
Work that in with your other stretches that we talked about.
Okay, so final thoughts on that last movement. I think that would help someone immensely if they have all of the other flexibility, except for their hip is what's limiting them to kick higher. I'd like to do more research on that movement, because it seems quite interesting. But final thoughts on this video. The hip aspect of it is very good. So being able to move your hips in this way is really good and beneficial. But you would have to supplement this with the stretching of like your groin, your hamstring, your quad, and then do this on top of your other stretches to increase the height of your kick, potentially. Do I think this is like the key to kicking higher? No. What they said at the beginning was it's for beginners and professional martial artists. I think beginners can for sure do these movements, and it could really help supplement their stretching routine that they're already doing and their stretching routine that they should be doing. Do I think it's for professional martial artists? Probably not. At a professional level, you would think that they would already be able to have their hips open, so they're more working on like the strengthening aspect and the stretching. You could do some of these to like open up if you're feeling like stiff or sore. These could maybe be good. Do I think this is for a professional martial artist? Probably not, but you could potentially work it into your routine. This is more like low impact on a professional martial arts level. This is something if you're like not feeling like training, or you're feeling lazy but you want to do something, this can move your body around. But do I think it's like ideal for their type of training? Probably not. If you like this kind of content, let me know below, because I'm considering turning this into a live where you could send me routines and tutorials and I could give you my real honest feedback. And finally, I'm going to do my Patreon shout out of the week. Thank you so much, Ozzy R, for being on my Patreon page and making videos like these possible. I appreciate you more than you know. And I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone. 2.7 million views for how to kick higher. Let's see if it's worth it. From the thumbnail, unsure.